we are the ones that wanna choose. Always wanna play, but you never wanna lose.
Life is a waterfall.
No, we want to get viewers, Andrew. We want to get them. I'm just sharing this on the Twitter. All right. Yes, that was the lovely Jessie Jet. Shout out if you are watching. Let's see who we got tonight.
We got Samwise J. Morgenstern. Hello there. We got 86 Blackberry White saying, howdy, folks. Tyler Parcher saying hi. Lucky Burrito. Hello, Lucky Burrito. Look at that great new snazzy thumbnail, Lucky Burrito. Thank you, Lucky Burrito.
Yeah, I was just going to give a shout out to Steve. Steve Cutler, partner of Lucky Burrito. Follow both of them. They do a show together as well. And he offered to start helping us with our promos because, you know, I'm kind of like blind. And that's as good as I do them. And it's a bit of a copy and paste. So he was kind enough to offer, and he's incredible. So it's means so much to us when people, reach out and they want to help and say, and in a kind way, not like, Joy, your memes suck, I want to help you. Like, he was very sweet about it. So we love him and we love Lucky. So thank you guys both so much. Andrew, what do we have going on tonight? It is never dull.
Thank you, Jenna. Okay. And so, came here for Andrew singing. Of course, that's why people come.
Nice. Oh, well, you got a treat. Wait till the close. Oh yeah, you got a treat. Oh yeah. Talking about singing. Now everyone's gonna leave. I
can't wait.
Before
now we've got suspense. All right, so cool. Loving the comments. Loving the names in the comments too. D Nord, sup. What do we have today? We got a lot of things as usual. We're going to start by Starbucks union busting, of course. What else is new? But this is particularly worth noting because More Perfect Union just recently reported that a lot of the original union organizers in Buffalo have actually gotten fired since then. And so, we're going to talk about that.
That we keep up, because a lot of indie media, it was actually, I believe, 1 year ago today that Buffalo unionized, and I get those Facebook memories. And I posted that, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm bawling because that video. Oh my God. Whew,
that's so right. Beautiful. That's right. Because I remember I was like in Buffalo at my friend's place house.
Yes, you were.
And then I came back, and then shortly after they unionized, and I was like, yo, Buffalo. It's because I was there.
Yeah, it was definitely
I had nothing to do with it.
And it was so rad, to look back and see that. But then I thought, wait, it's been a year. We got to keep up on this shit, because a lot of indie media only talked about it, those few days, but we've been talking about it continually. And I'm so glad that we do that. We still talk about Amazon all the time, still talk about Starbucks all the time, still talk about Trader Joe's and all the strikes and everything. It's so important. Not just when there's victories, but also to continue, because this bullshit does not stop.
Exactly. And they do illegal shit all the time. So here it says there were 35 Starbucks workers on the voting list when Starbucks Workers United won its first election at the Elmwood store in Buffalo 1 year ago today. So 1 year ago, December 9th. Yeah, just 10 of those workers remain. The rest were fired or pushed out, including some of the union's most prominent leaders. Starbucks has used increasingly bizarre and frivolous excuses to fire pro-union workers. So let's just show this video real quick.
I definitely think it was targeted retaliation for the whole unionization effort. I had been pretty vocal about my support for the union.
I was the main organizer for my store. I kind of knew, you know, it was something that could happen because I'm putting a target on my back, but I would do it over and over again if I could.
Dropping the lawsuits against Starbucks for me and a bunch of other of the Starbucks partners throughout the country that have been unjustly fired. So is that a coincidence that a bunch of the union leaders were fired for these things that they never cared about before? I don't think so.
I really think that Starbucks has shown their true colors.
It blows my mind. And just a perfect example, Starbucks releases like a quarterly report to their shareholders.
Minutes early by myself, and according to policy, you're not allowed into. They didn't even listen to my manager, who was vouching for me, telling them that I, was a great employee, and they came in and told me they were letting me go.
We had gotten into kind of an argument, and it escalated into that individual yelling at me and my barista very loudly, to the point where a full cafe was silent. He was leaving to go outside. And right as he was about to leave, I'm like, hey, again, just a heads up, I have to leave at 7 today. I can't stay over. And he still walked out. And, 7 o'clock rolled around. I waited a couple minutes, and I had made sure this barista was set up and made sure he didn't need anything. There wasn't a line, no customers or anything. When I had tried to bring up, well, the shift supervisor I was working with, it was his shift. He decided to leave. Why is this happening to me and not him? I was told this is about you, not him, and to watch my tone.
In the termination notice, they accused me of violent and threatening behavior, stating that on or around March 11th, I was witnessed saying that I was going to punch our district manager, Sarah Jenkins, in the face, which is ludicrous because I had not seen her in the store myself in months. It was kind of just out of the blue. I had a clean record. I'd never been written up. So I was a good worker, like I knew my stuff.
We can stop it there. It looks like we're having issues with the video, but
yeah, I hope you enjoyed the audio. Sorry about that. That's never happened. But yeah, we get the main.
Oh, good. But yeah, I mean, we've seen this before. Like, you can prove if someone says something. You can't prove if they did not say something. So it's like, we're going to accuse you of this. Yeah, we have no proof you said it, but you can't prove you didn't say it. So fuck you, you're fired. And that happens all the time. And it's like, they know that they can do it. And these workers have given, like, I've interviewed some of these Starbucks workers, and they're like so passionate about their job. Like, they know their shit, and they're like, I love what I do. I love coffee. I love being creative, and they're like seriously into it. They're passionate about it. And they're like, I love my job. I don't love my company. And that really fucking sucks. And some of them got fired, and it's like, you should want those kind of employees. You should want those dedicated employees. you should want the morale to be high because then customers are happy and this and that. But Starbucks, they're bajillionaires. They don't give a fuck. If they fire you, there's 100 other people waiting to get that job.
Yeah, this is the second time, at least, that I have heard about them blatantly lying about being physically accosted by a worker, right? This was a Starbucks employee. I remember back, this was like a few months ago now, there was an incident, I believe in a North Carolina store, I forget the exact location, where one of the managers tried to say that several baristas were assaulting her. And then luckily they had the audio that showed no one was they were assaulting her. They were literally just telling her that they were not going to leave the store until they agreed to work with them and negotiate their rights. So it's interesting to see how they are using very similar tactics across the board to try and push some of these employees out, right? Clearly,
if there was no audio to that, she would have been believed. Why wouldn't she? She's the hire, the hire person, and they're just the peons.
Exactly. And so, yeah, hopefully, because one of the things that it does say, let me just exit out, is that in the past month, the NLRB has requested a national injunction against Starbucks anti-union activity. This would be a game changer for the union. It would speed up the process for reinstating fired workers and drastically increase the penalties Starbucks faces for union busting. So, and then someone actually included a meme saying union busting, that's so Reagan. Yeah.
Remember when Charles Schultz fucking ran for president?
Howard Schultz, yes.
Or Howard Schultz. Like,
we could call him Charles. Whatever.
No, that's the creator of Peanuts. That's not very nice.
Yes. Felice, that was where Felice grew up in South Carolina.
Okay.
And so, yeah, the manager that lied about being assaulted. So, yeah.
Remember, God, it must have been at least 2-3 years ago. No, probably even more, perhaps. When all Starbucks shut down to have racial sensitivity training.
Oh, yes.
You remember that? It was and all these Karens were in there oh my God, I need my coffee. You're shutting down. But it was because these videos were coming out about these girls working there being really nasty to people of color. And it was only one store, but they made all stores go through this racial sensitivity training because they wanted to have the image that they care about people. They care about humanity. They care about justice. They care about things that are important. And that's the kind of PR bullshit that you see. And now you see them you have kids, you have bills. I don't give a fuck. You're fired. It's the same company, but it's they want to be known as that, not in reality.
Well, and was that racial sensitivity training, was that before they started unionizing, or was that after?
Yes.
That was before. Yeah, that's what I thought. And I recently was seeing an article, too, saying that Howard Schultz is feeling pretty sad about this because he doesn't want to be seen as a monster and such. Yeah, it's Howie.
We loved you before this started happening. It was very disappointing because we've always loved you so much and we believed in you. Wow. It always breaks your heart when billionaires are like, it hurts my feelings. Good, bitch. Good. That's your fucking legacy.
All I'm
going
going
to enough power that if you wanted shit to change, you would just say, let's unionize all of Starbucks, all of it. You have that power, but you're not, so eat a bag of dicks. I don't fucking care.
All I'm going to say is remember that video that showed Bill Gates getting pied in the face? That's all I'm going to say. Okay.
Remember Bush getting the shoe thrown at his head? I mean,
yes.
stuff like that's fun. It's enjoyable.
That happened too. Yeah. I'm just noting that this happened. I'm not trying to encourage anything or anything. I'm just saying those things happen.
In UK, they throw bags of flour on politicians and stuff. I'm just stating it like this is what we do.
Yeah.
And
Macron gets slapped in the face sometimes when he tries to shake people's hands.
You know, sometimes you need to throw rainbow-colored glitter on politicians who are completely assholes, and that way it stays on their clothes forever.
It's for the decoration. Yeah,
it's really like celebrate pride. Sorry, it's gonna stay there forever, but
yeah. So cool.
We're not giving anyone ideas. What?
No, I'm just stating like these are things that have happened. Like that's all. Like, yeah, we got to know our history.
Respect your roots.
So this is speaking of politicians. This is the update. I'm sure you all know by now. Sinema is now registered as an Arizona Independent. I know some people might be a little bit surprised by this. No, but actually, I think it makes a lot of sense. Sinema said in a Thursday interview with CNN's Jake Tapper. So, yeah.
So I wanted to talk about this for a few things. Number one, I want to see your Well, I can't see them, but I want Andrew to read your comments. I want to know, you guys think it's cool? She's going independent. I mean, we all know she sucks. I know none of you guys are fans. I can presume that. I'm quite sure. But do you guys think it's a good thing she's going indie just to show? I mean, honestly, I can't stand her, but that takes balls, and I'm all about it personally. But I mean, we all know because she was voted the least popular Democrat by her peers. And it got to her, and that's why she wouldn't campaign with, Obama and all those that came to Arizona for 2022, because they voted her the least popular Democrat. And she's like, fuck this, I'm going independent. So I want to see what you guys think. The interesting thing is, Sinema used to be a Green before she was elected. She ran as a Green.
She was also a social worker for unhoused people, right?
She was.
Yeah.
She was. And that's why I was dumb enough to be like, oh, this is so cool. And then she got, sworn in on a fucking Wiccan, a book of Wicca. And I was like, she had like pink hair. And I'm like, yeah, this bitch is rad. All right, let's bring it on. And then I'm like, okay, I don't know why she was in the Green Party, but yeah, she's like fucking right wing. But like, I guess I'm curious to what you guys think. I mean, I think it's very interesting that the only one, one of these Democrats who has, Bernie went back indie, but the only one of these Democrats who has the balls to go indie is essentially a fucking Republican. And what was so gross and so hypocritical and so not surprising was Miss Wonderful AOC came out in this article, and I posted it on my Twitter if you guys want to see it. And she's mocking Sinema, saying, oh, you're gonna leave the Dems and go independent. And it's like, bitch, you swore you were a fucking activist and you were all hard. That's what you fucking should have done.
Right.
So why are you mocking someone else for having the balls to do it? No, we don't have to like her, But the fact of the matter is, at least she had the guts to take a stand and say, peace out. I'm fucking going somewhere else. What's that saying?
So thank you for the super chat, Samwise.
you.
Kristen Sinema is just a white Tulsi Gabbard, just a Republican.
Oh my God. I love you. Yes, 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 yes. Andrew knows I'm like, right now. Like, yes.
Yeah. I think so. Lucky Burrito says, I don't think it matters. She votes with the corporations already. Of course. Yeah.
It's
and
so
then,
funny though, 'cause, like, I don't mute Shank Uger. I guess you say is Uger.
Cenk Uygur. Yeah.
Cenk Uygur. I don't mute him because I think he is so inadvertently fucking hilarious. And the past few days he's been like going at Sinema, talking about like, she's a corporate Democrat. Bitch, they all are. What the fuck are you talking about? And he's like making these like profound statements that are literally like applicable to like everyone in the party. It's so fucking funny.
So Lost Adult has an interesting comment. Rosa Luxemburg told us that social democrats always break fascist. So a good little history there.
Absolutely. Good point. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you think that, see, I think a lot of people kind of, and we've had this discussion before, where social democrat, democratic socialist, like, are they really in the Democrats present day? Because aren't all Democrats kind of synonymous with like being shit libs at this point? Or, you know, I truly, truly wish that, you know, Democrats would actually read Luxembourg and people like that. I think it would be, but like read and actually retain it. Like, I think it would be pretty impressive. Like, that's your fucking homework.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think it's a good point. I think, and Lucky Burrito is saying, you know, the labels don't matter. What matters is their actions, right? I think as far as Kirsten Sinema goes, right, a lot of people have been saying, you know, she's controlled opposition in the sense where, you know, the Democrats need Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin in order to use that as an excuse for not getting anything done, right? And I think
dude, what if Joe Manchin left? They'd be like,
I mean,
why? How can we?
It's possible. But here's the thing that I found really interesting about the timing. What I found really interesting about the timing was that, you know, Raphael Warnock, of course, won in Georgia, and literally like the day after, a couple days after, she switches to being an independent, right? So here we are, where Democrats are saying, oh, okay, 51-49. So Warnock gives a little bit of a leverage, or I shouldn't say leverage, that's not the right word, but a little bit more cushion, right? Because theoretically, Democrats now can have one more member in their committees, so making it theoretically easier for things to get by in the committees, right? And so, you know, it does on paper give an advantage to Democrats that they didn't have previously. But if Sinema is going to independent, and I don't know, is it clear if she's going to even caucus with the Dems?
She has not stated, and I was wondering about that. Because she's not up for election for another 2 years. So she is still in her position, but changing that letter next to her name, just like when Bernie dropped in 2020 and he registered back Indy the next day. He's still, you know what I mean? You don't change. All that changes is that technicality of the letter next to your name. But I think it's so interesting. Also, someone pointed this out, and it didn't hit me, but something else is Kristen Sinema is a lesbian, and she
Bye.
left on the same day that Biden did the executive order.
For marriage.
And I didn't make that connection, but I thought, wow, that's a really interesting point.
That is interesting. Yeah, she's bisexual, I believe.
Oh, she's bi.
Yeah.
But that's interesting that you would leave the same time. But okay, and that also brings us up, why the fuck aren't you codifying same-sex marriage? Why like, what is with this like executive order? Like, oh, we're claiming, we're proclaiming it. Fuck you, dude. So now,
yes.
What's that?
Well, there was a same-sex marriage law that passed, right?
Yes, but the Republicans are threatening to get rid of that. That's why we want them to codify it. And then what's up with this codify Roe v. Wade? Remember Biden said he can't do it now because he won't have the votes? Well, it's 51-49, right? Let's go.
Yeah. And we got one more committee seat, so let's go.
And he makes the most profound tweets.
No, and then... yeah, and here's 86 Blackberry White saying, what we were saying before, right? Sinema and Manchin are rotating villains that Democrats use an excuse to not get anything done. Absolutely, and I think it showed that with the $15 minimum wage, right? It wasn't just Manchin and Sinema that came out against that. It was actually one of them was a senator in Delaware, at least one of the senators in Delaware that's like good friends with Biden that voted against it. It's like, all right, yeah. I thought I thought we voted Biden in because, he's got the connections and he can, work with people and leverage his relationships.
Yeah.
So hell yeah. All right, cool. But I mean, if you blame Sinema for not passing $15 minimum wage, you're sexist. So fuck you. Check yourself. Check your misogyny. She has every right, just like a man does, to give a thumbs down for keeping wages low. So what?
Props to her being a woman and baking cupcakes, because that's what she should be doing.
Hey, cupcakes. I mean, that's cool. You don't get livable wages.
You don't get
not even livable wage. You don't get a $15 minimum wage, but at least you can get a cupcake. Have a cupcake.
Oh no, those were for Congress. Us poors didn't get those shits.
Well, we can watch.
You don't remember that? She came in with her little dress and she goes.
Yeah. She was
I just got goosebumps. Wow.
Yeah, she's honestly like a caricature of like a corrupt politician. Like it's really you would see that in a movie.
I really wanted to like her, and she had that ring that said "bitch" on it, and I was like, yeah, like because it was right when she was elected. I'm like, yeah, I fucking love this chick. I take that back.
And so next we're going to be talking about Brittney Griner. So here it is, Joy.
So you guys have probably all heard she was traded. So she is now back home. And there's some controversy between, Americans as to who we traded and like how they picked who we traded. And, how we decide as a nation who we're going to bargain for, essentially, and who we're just going to be like, sorry. So do you want to read a little of this, Andrew?
Yeah. Brittney Griner, the American basketball star who has been released from almost 10 months of detention in Russia in a prisoner swap with the notorious arms dealer Viktor Bout, is undergoing physical and mental evaluation at a Texas Army facility as part of her rehabilitation to the U.S. The two-time Olympic gold medalist is being debriefed at the Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio. She arrived back in the U.S. on Friday morning and was immediately taken for what was being described as extensive health evaluations. The National Securities Council Strategic Communications Coordinator John Kirby told This Week on ABC News on Sunday that early indications were that Griner was doing well. She's in very good spirits and in good health, she said. As the WNBA and Olympic champion gradually re-enters U.S. society, the political fallout over her high-profile prisoner exchange with Bout continued. So too did the ongoing plight of other Americans held by Russia, not included in the Kremlin deal, notably the discharged Marine Paul Whelan, who had served almost 4 years of a 16-year sentence for alleged spying. Joe Biden's special presidential envoy for hostage affair, Roger Carstens, said that negotiations over Whelan were continuing. He told CNN State of the Union, "We have an ongoing open dialogue with the Russians, and we have the commitment of the president and my office certainly to bring Paul Whelan home." Karsten described speaking with Whelan in a Russian prison a day after the swap securing Griner's release was announced and assured him that the U.S. government was committed to bringing him home. He said he urged Whelan to keep the faith. "We're coming to get you." The White House has responded to criticism that they should have secured the release of both Griner and Whelan in exchange for such a prominent arms dealer by insisting that the 2-for-1 deal was never on the cards. Carson said a specific proposal to get both individuals out had been made to the Russians, but it didn't land anywhere. Do you want me to keep going?
No, that's okay. But I do, it does make you think, is that because people can say, well, why are you doing this to Assange? If you just, you know what I mean? Like, it's different in the magnitude, but it's also like, I feel like that's why I don't even think they brought it up. Honestly, I really don't. And I think that's why they were trepidatious to do the 2-for-1 thing. But it's kind of, it's really weird. Like, who do we decide is worthy to trade someone for? And how do we decide who to trade them with?
Right.
Like, we say we don't negotiate with terrorists. Well, this kind of is a terrorist situation. I mean, it's just weird. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. And, I think later on in the article, the Biden administration claims that they can't do two, they wouldn't have been able to do two in this case, but they're going to keep trying to get him out. So, yeah. So I don't, it is interesting. And yeah, I mean, I hope they both come back, it'd be great.
Seriously.
I think, of course, conservatives have used this as an opportunity for culture war to be like, oh, you bring Griner back, but you're not bringing back, this veteran and everything. And so,
which
yeah.
Is, then, they're being called racist, you know what I mean? Because she is a woman of color. And so then it's also adding to that. And yeah.
So this is humorous saying maybe everybody should stop believing in their arcade beliefs, start taking care of one another on this planet, which was our only 2 jobs, and stop voting for these Democrats and GOP members that have done nothing for you in 7 decades. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for the super chat.
I imagine Griner probably, based on what Griner did, right? Cannabis oil. Claims to accidentally, didn't even realize bringing it over into Russia, right? Imagine she was probably a lot easier to negotiate out than the other guy, right? So that probably is what got her out first.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably literally nothing else, even a parking ticket on her record. I don't know what that dude's background is, and that could certainly have something to do with it as well.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So,
and I digress a little, but there was this, what?
The only person Biden freed for weed was somebody who wasn't even in the U.S. True. Well, that's the thing too, and this was, I think, the thing that I found very interesting was, here Biden obviously has this history of being a huge part of the war on drugs. Russia locked someone up for cannabis oil, and now it's like a catch-22 for Biden, because now Biden either has to, reverse his policies and be like, hey, on weed, and recognize, like, hey, he was wrong all those decades.
And hire the
Russia,
30 employees back. He just
right, exactly. That he just fired like last year, right?
Yeah, for admitting they have done pot in the past.
So here it's like a catch-22 for him, because it's like, it's politically expedient, of course, for him to blame Russia on everything, say Russia is the most evil country in the planet, and look, they locked someone up for cannabis oil. And it's like, okay, Biden, but so many people have gone to jail and are still in jail today because of the shit that you've done with the war on drugs. So, yeah, there is very much this kind of...
Seriously, start learning about the criminal justice system. You will see Black men who have been locked up for 20 fucking years for a bag of weed. It exists. It happens. So, Russia's not some kind of anomaly. They get the bad rap because they're not, Americans, but we do the same fucking shit. It's bananas.
Right.
But that's what I was going to say. So yesterday I watched a documentary, and it's called In Broad Daylight, and it takes place in Mexico City, and it is takes place in 2015, and it is 17 journalists were murdered, okay? As well as one journalist and 4 women killed with machetes by the government and then covered up by the government. It was all under the regime that was going on. So they were literally killed by the government. It was well known. Like, it was the mayor that, and I can't think of his fucking name, but you guys would know it if you heard it. But it was under his regime, and 17 journalists and then other people were murdered, and tons went missing as well. And they were activists. They were protesting in the streets, and they weren't murdered at the actions. They were tracked down at their apartments. They had the government following them and watching them and then murdering them in their apartment. That's how fucking creepy this shit is. And it's not a conspiracy. This shit, I watched the documentary. It's fucking whoa. So definitely, it made me think of it when we were talking about journalists being persecuted and prosecuted. So yeah, check that out. In Broad Daylight, check it out. It's rough. It's rough, but Mexico City is certainly not the only one, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. So, speaking of people getting out of prison, let me pull this up. So, is it Matulu?
I believe that's how you say it.
Okay, yeah, Matulu. Let me pull it up. Matulu Shakur, rapper Tupac Shakur's stepfather, will be released this month after 36 years in federal prison. The Black liberation activist may have only months to live due to cancer, but was repeatedly denied medical parole A judge claims he wasn't close enough to death. Holy fucking shit. So, Mutulu was convicted of a racketeering conspiracy in 1988 and sentenced to 60 years for a series of robberies and helping Black Liberation Army leader Assata Shakur escape prison. He was eligible for parole in 2016, but was denied 9 times, including after his cancer diagnosis. Mutulu Shakur was diagnosed in 2019 with multiple melanoma, a rare cancer. He has reportedly lost 25% of his weight, been confined to a wheelchair, experiencing mental degradation, relied on feeding tubes, and had COVID-19 twice. Holy fucking shit. Mutulu is among 200 people in federal prison ineligible for typical release. That's because their alleged crimes were committed before 1987, when federal parole laws changed. These old laws, prisoners can only seek release from a parole commission that was set to be abolished. Mutulu Shakur was initially targeted by an FBI program called COUNTERPRO, which from 1956 to 71 had a stated goal to neutralize Black rights movements and civil rights leaders. Targets of COUNTERPRO and other FBI surveillance included the Black Panther Party, Malcolm X, and MLK. COUNTERPRO was disbanded in 1970s, sure, but reforms to limited FBI abuses
Never heard of it.
Yeah, but reforms to limit FBI abuses were reversed by the Bush admin after 9/11, allowing surveillance of innocent people, called assessments. These have been widely used to target Black activists since the 2014 police killing of Michael Brown. So
first of all, if those of you who watch my show on my channel, you know that I have interviewed Temujin Kensu numerous times from prison. He's been locked up unjustly for 35 years. He is not guilty. He is accused of murdering a politician's son. He has been proven innocent numerous times. He is still not being let out. So again, I've interviewed him several times from prison. Now, he has a tumor on the brain. He has what they believe to be stomach cancer. He has had COVID 3 times. They will not let him even take his vitamins. He goes out in the yard and eats a dandelion. So that when he goes out every couple days, he searches the yard for fucking dandelion to try and help keep his nutrients up. This is, first of all, he's in there unjustly. He's been proven innocent. And second of all, this is torture. When you have someone who is sick and you're not even allowing them vitamins, like, are you fucking kidding me? So, and then I saw this, and it's not just that it's Tupac's, stepfather. This shit's real. This shit really happens. They deny people, and we're not approving you because you're not close enough to death. Like, what? The thing that really sticks out about this, it was not murder. It was not rape. You're talking about a monetary crime, and he's already served 36 years. He is not a danger to anyone. That, period. It's nothing, like, nobody should fear him. That's the number one thing. Why are you fighting a dude who literally, like, hasn't even done anything harmful to a person? It's out of this world. So, and I've read so many stories that, and Temujin has told me of other stories just like this. It's so fucked up.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's just absurd, the fact that, like, he was denied. They said he's not close enough to being dead. Like, what the fuck? And now it's like,
and, like, how do you know? Do you know how many doctors give estimates that are wrong? Like, all of them. You know, how do you fucking know? Like,
Mhm.
dude is debilitating. Just let him be with his family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that he was with the Black Liberation Army. It has nothing to do with that, I'm sure.
Or that he helped, free Asada Shakur, who now
No,
is in
I mean,
Cuba.
that's
got
irrelevant. They
away.
don't even look at that shit.
Yeah. So yeah. Speaking
You know,
of,
we have sanctions on people in other countries. Did you know that?
yeah,
Like, we have sanctions on people.
Yeah.
Like, on fucking people that are like them, that are like in Haiti, like the equivalent to Black Panthers and stuff. The US has sanctions on individual people who are heads of social justice movements.
yeah,
Like, when I had journalist Dan Cohen on, we were talking about that, and I just, people talk about sanctions, and I guess I didn't really think that it could be on a person as well. It's so fucking bananas.
yeah. Yep. Could do anything. The U.S. really.
We are the USA.
So I want to shed. So speaking of prison, right? We're gonna go to like one of the worst. Probably the worst prison in the world, Guantanamo Bay. And so this is really interesting. So Mike Preisner he interviewed, I believe, Mansour Gaddafi, who was in Guantanamo Bay. I think it says somewhere, imprisoned for over 14 years without charges. Okay, so right there, that right there is an extreme injustice, right? And it's not just him. There's been so many people who have been held in Guantanamo Bay for no charges at all, who were never tried, but were tortured all of these years, particularly throughout the war on terror, right? And so he's uncovering, at least according to Mansour, that Ron DeSantis played a role in some of this. But in a recent, so I'm going to read some of this, but in a recent Blockbuster episode, so this is on the podcast Eyes Left, host and U.S. Army veteran Mike Preisner delves deep into the shadowy recesses of DeSantis' military career, exposing some truly jaw-dropping and never-before-heard details. Details that come through in the interview portion, especially of Mike's recent episode in which he spoke with Mansour as a Gaddafi, who is also known by the name Detainee 441, of course. Mansour was imprisoned in Guantanamo Bay for over 14 years without charges as an enemy combatant. Now Mike interviewed Mansour for this episode, and we're about to play a clip. So, okay. So this is what Mansour says. We were beaten all day, all day long, all day. There's a team, whatever you do, they just beat you. Pepper spray, beating. By the way, content warning, all right? So some of this is kind of graphic, so just want to kind of say that. Sorry, I should have said that before. Sleep deprivation that continued for 3 months. And he was there, DeSantis, because at the beginning he told us that he was there to ensure we are treated humanely as a lawyer. And if we have concerns or issues, he will take it. But he's one of the people who actually supervised the torture, the abuse, and the beating all the time at Guantanamo. And then this is Mike Preisner speaking now. So Ron DeSantis, he wasn't there as a lawyer that you could go to. He was actually supervising torture, beatings, and he was supervising these force feedings of you and others. This is Mansour Gaddafi now. Ron DeSantis was there all the time because his job was to walk around and talk to prisoners in the camp. That was the job because the report is like, I am here to ensure you're being treated humanely. I'm telling you Americans, if this is humanity, this guy is a torturer, is a criminal. And so And so here we go. I'm going to go down here. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Okay, so this is Mike Preisner. Yeah, well, it's interesting because initially I had difficulty getting a hold of Mansour, connecting with him. This is how him actually connecting with Mansour, the prisoner. He doesn't live in the U.S. He lives abroad and is a little hard to get a hold of. I had scripted and recorded an entire episode that was really just drawing inference from what we do know about what I had researched about DeSantis's military background, and was trying just to make the point. There's obviously something here that's sketchy that should be looked into more and has not been reported yet. I was about to publish it when Mansour finally responded to me, and so I recorded an interview with him and realized it was so explosive what we told me. I had to redo the entire episode. Luckily, I was procrastinating enough to where I didn't publish on time. Otherwise, there would have been a bad episode that come out and a better one to follow. But anyways, that's just a little side story about how it all came together. But I initially was interested in this story because I realized that there was really no reporting on DeSantis's military background. I think from some progressivist or Democratic Party-style military publications, they all kind of mock this as because DeSantis did nothing. He uses his photo of himself in Fallujah. He was just a pencil pusher who never did anything. And they don't look at the Guantanamo thing. He was just some jagoffs, they call him in the military, some jagoff lawyer who just sat behind a desk and was trying to make himself look cool with his photo. But there's really nothing to be looked into his past. I didn't really think that. I thought there has to be something more there. I realized the only press that actually did try to dig into some of his military history was local Florida press when he first ran for governor in 2018. I think this was brought on by the fact that he mentions his military service in campaign ads when he ran for governor the first time. And so they're like, okay, let's find out what he did. And so he got some more requests. They did some digging. They required military documents through Freedom of Information Act requests. They talked to Navy spokespeople. They interviewed former colleagues of his and former superiors of his who served in Fallujah and Guantanamo Bay with him. I knew there were these 2 deployments, and they had done quite a bit of digging on it, but all the Florida press did was basically repeat what they were told by the Navy, by officials, by documents. So when you read what those say, it's what did Ron DeSantis do at Guantanamo. He was the lawyer in charge of ensuring that detainees' human rights are respected accordingly, and that U.S. was acting in compliance with international law. And that he did the same in Fallujah with special operations in 2007 in his prior deployment in Guantanamo Bay. This was all existing in the media until our episode came out. And so, but here, they go on to show just how he basically was at best a bystander, and at worst he was aiding and abetting a lot of the torture, right? And so, yeah, definitely recommend you to read this article. But I mean, I bring this up because this is really, it's disturbing, and I think, when the media talks about Ron DeSantis, right? They talk a lot about, of course, his anti-LGBTQ stuff, but they're never going to touch any of this, right? Because this goes into the fact that, first of all, they never report any type of war crimes, any type of torture anymore, right?
And we never fucking close the damn thing, even though it's been said, oh, I'll close it down. And for years, there were only 6 prisoners in it. And they still didn't fucking close it. Yeah.
And Obama said he was going to close Guantanamo Bay. Nope. So, I think this just really just kind of, shows just how much of a sociopath Ron DeSantis really is. How he very much is part of the establishment, how he was used because they knew he wasn't going to fucking say anything. Right. And so, yeah, I think it's always just good. This is someone who's going to be probably, at least he's going to run for office. He's going to try, president, I should say. He's already in office.
And Tulsi's going to be his VP. But, honestly, I think, it's going to be a rude awakening for so many of the vote blue, no matter who people, because they think Trump was bad because of his, mean tweets and shit. You wait till fucking someone like DeSantis is in. You have not seen bad. This dude is a sociopath. So they're gonna have to like seriously quell their rude awakening, because if someone and Biden's saying he's gonna run again, and congratulations DeSantis. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. So wanted to bring this last story up because regardless on what you think about guns, right? This is a story of Massachusetts, right? And so Massachusetts is thought of as a state that has very strict gun laws, and compared to many states, it does, right? But this is fascinating because this Globe article essentially about a large amount of the local police departments that are supposed to be doing inspections, yearly inspections on gun dealers. We're just not doing them. And so, they talk about how, the local police were almost chummy during their annual inspections of Dark Horse Gunsmithing, a gun shop that opened in a small town in Springfield in 2012. The chief or his lieutenant would stroll up to the counter, chat for a bit, and be on their way. And then this would result in, when federal inspectors would visit, they would find unregistered machine guns in the safe, the first litany of federal and state crimes that included sell our AR-15 style rifles to straw buyers, and failing to recognize where 119 guns either came from or went, right? And so this led to the fact that there were like some gun dealerships that didn't even have registered addresses. They later say in this article. And so I'm just bringing this up because this is just another example of cops just not doing their jobs. Like, they're getting all this money and they're just like, okay, we're just not going to inspect any of these places, and make sure anything is registered. So,
It's easier to not inspect them and then just have people, shoot each other and be like, why'd this happen?
Right. Like,
they do have a certain quota.
Yeah. So, but they have no problem, giving out tickets if you're going.
Oh wait, I have a question though.
Yeah.
Do they still do it to the black store owners?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Oh. Yeah.
I don't know. Hold on. Humorous has some. So I don't know if any of you people know this, but it costs $13 million a year per prisoner at Guantanamo Bay. But we can't afford universal health care. We can't afford to feed people, or give them a home. Yeah, I didn't know it was that much.
I knew it was a couple million, but that's.
Do we know how many people have been in Guantanamo? Of course it's secretive, but like.
I know. Last I heard there were 6. Let me see if I can.
6 people in Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, for a few years. I'm like, okay, but we're still not closing it. Okay, that's not shady, like, at all.
Yeah. So, while you're getting that, we'll close out with our last little thing.
Our funny
Here we
go. As of October 29th, 22, so like a month and a half ago, 35 detainees remain at Guantanamo Bay.
35 in Guantanamo Bay. Holy shit. That's a lot.
It's so fucked up.
Yeah, and that's just in Guantanamo Bay, right? Like there's plenty of other types of prisons like this as well. So, yeah.
Ay, Dios mío.
All right. I know some of you enjoy my Gwen Stefani impressions, so happy holidays.
It's not playing.
It's not?
Mm-mm.
How is it not playing?
I think you may need to click on the screen that you because it opens up the TikTok screen.
Can you hear it now?
No.
Oh.
Don't disappoint. I will know that everyone wants to hear me sing.
I heard it.
Okay, well, I guess I'll just have to do it live.
Yeah, do it live.
So Gwen Stefani from No Doubt. I have the thing where I cannot sing for shit, but I can actually sing like her. So I always do like parody songs. And that's a video of me if Gwen were to do the Grinch. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel. And then I won't do the rest, but thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Gwen, if you're watching, I hope I did you proud. So
sure
that's your...
Is.
What's that?
I'm sure she is.
I'm sure she does. I've seen you in concert 8 times. I'm sure you care. So anyway, oh, is that did we read this?
Yeah. So it's not a secret. It's very researchable, and I'm not joking when I say it costs $13 million a year per prisoner. How the hell do you think we pay for all the people that watch them? And yes, there is only 7 people in Guantanamo Bay. Yeah.
Absolutely awful. And I can't help but wonder how the fuck we choose goes there. Like, there has to be some kind of like protocol of like, they deserve to go. No, they don't deserve to go. I gotta research that more because and I have seen a few documentaries on it, and they're
right.
Trigger warning. They're bad. What do you have coming up this week, sir?
Yeah, not too much. Quiet week, at least on this front. So yeah, what about you?
So tomorrow night I have 2 women who are both Canadian, and they have recently left their Canadian Democrat Party, the CDP. Nice. And I listened to them on a Spaces, and I was really taken because what they describe is our Dems. Like it's really interesting to speak to people in Canada when their party is like a mirror to ours. I don't live in Canada, so I didn't know it was so much alike. But we're going to be discussing, some of their experiences, and wow, they have a lot to share. They're quite fascinating. And their names are Jessa and Joy. It's the first time I had another Joy in over 5 years. But Joy is Native. And I'm going to also be talking to her about, Canada is known for the most MMIW, missing and murdered Indigenous women. So I do want to speak to her about that as well. And ask her, what the party has done, if they've done anything to help, she's Lakota, even Lakotas or anyone. So I definitely want to speak to them about that. I'm looking forward to it. That is on my channel tomorrow night, Savage Joy Marie Mann on YouTube and Rockfin. Please subscribe. And YouTube lost like thousands of my subscribers, just like randomly overnight. So I have no idea how. But if you were subscribed, please check to make sure you still are. And if you haven't, please do. But yeah, and then I'll probably do a spaces later in the week. But yes, and otherwise, as far as this channel goes, we'll be back next Monday with another Postmortem Breakdown. Yes, so thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are freaking amazing, and we love the comments, and we love seeing the same people and new people. But you guys are our family, and we appreciate it so much. So definitely have a great night, and hopefully I will see some of you guys on my channel tomorrow. Also, I have a Patreon. You can sign up for as little as $3 a month. And that's Savage Joy Marie Mann as well.